Need $700,000? It was the 6th of November, 2015. A Reddit user going by the name Bangarang posted something that gave everyone chills. The title was simple: "Need $700,000, what do I do?" And the message underneath? Even more alarming: "I need it by January 2016 or I'm dead. The mob is after me, what are my options?" At first glance, this might have been seen as a joke, something for laughs. But the post wasn't made in r, legal advice, or r, assistance. No, he dropped it in a subreddit called r Sad Boys, a place dedicated to fans of Swedish rapper Young Lean and his underground music crew. Naturally, people were confused. Was this a meme? Some obscure lyric reference? Is this a joke? One person asked. Is $700,000 some deep-cut reference to Young Lean? Another replied. But then it got dark. Real dark. Because Bangarang started replying to the comments and he was dead serious. Someone joked, "Let me ghostwrite your mixtape for cash." And instead of ignoring it, Bangarang responded, "I need all the help I can get." Then another user, being cruel, told him to just end it all. "Jump off a bridge or shoot yourself on the way down," they wrote. And that's when everything took a terrifying turn. Bangarang replied, "They'll probably get to me before I make any moves." Then he dropped a link. A photo? It showed a group of men standing in the middle of a street, surrounded by parked cars. The shot looked like it was taken from the bushes, like someone was hiding and watching them from the shadows. That was the moment everyone realized this was not a joke. People started asking serious questions. What happened? Why do you need the money? Who are these men? And after a bit of back and forth, Bangarang opened up and the truth spilled out. After that eerie photo and his disturbing final reply, Bangarang vanished. He stopped answering comments. No edits, no follow-up, no thanks for the help, just silence. And ever since that day, not a single post from the account. Nothing. The Reddit profile, created the same day as that message, probably a throwaway. And with no username linked to anything real, tracking him down was impossible. I even tried running a reverse image search on that photo he posted. You know, the one with the men in the street? Yeah, I found a bunch of similar looking pictures out there, but nothing matched it exactly. And certainly nothing that came before that post. He never said what city he lived in, or even what country. No dates, no names, no context. And so no police reports, no news coverage, no Reddit update. Just a haunting digital footprint left behind, and nothing more. Now, if you go back and read the comments under that original thread, most people seem to agree on one thing. He probably didn't make it. Maybe the mob caught up with him. Maybe he ran. Maybe he faked the whole thing. But honestly, it has been 9 years since that post. And I have a feeling we'll never know what really happened. Now, just when you thought Reddit could not get any weirder, let me tell you about what happened to someone's dog. On the 31st of March, a Reddit user going by the name City, State posted something in the Reddit Bureau of Investigation forum that made everyone stop scrolling. The title? Why would someone operate on my dog? He wrote, "I posted this elsewhere, but they told me to bring it here. I live alone in the suburbs. When I leave for work or to hang out, I let my dog play in the backyard. He's a healthy Labrador, normal weight, never had issues." He goes on to say that it is a peaceful neighborhood, quiet, safe. Nothing weird had ever happened until now. Yesterday, I came home and found my dog stitched up. Not metaphorically, literally stitched. As in someone had surgically operated on his dog. He panicked, grabbed the pup, and rushed him to the vet. Now, this was not some random clinic. This was the same vet he had always gone to. The dog was known there. The staff recognized him, and here's where it gets even weirder. The vet inspected the wounds and said whoever did the surgery actually knew what they were doing. The incisions were clean. They had removed fat from the dog's stomach, upper and lower belly, sewn back up properly, no infection, no major damage, just unexplained surgery. The vet gave painkillers, antibiotics, and one of those cone collars to stop the dog from licking the stitches. So naturally, the guy asked the vet, "Did someone bring in a Labrador yesterday?" The vet and receptionist said, "No, we saw your dog for the first time today." And that is when the real fear kicked in. So, was it an accident? Or did someone do this to my dog on purpose? One of the top comments came from a user named Bananaphone, and it offered the first solid explanation. They pointed out that the rubber-looking thing sticking out of my dog's belly might be a Penrose drain. That is a thin, flexible rubber tube, something vets and surgeons use to let a wound drain properly so it does not close up and trap bacteria inside. Otherwise, you can end up with a nasty infected abscess, and that could lead to even worse complications. Bananaphone explained that in their professional experience, these drains are commonly used when an animal's been bitten by another animal, especially dogs. Apparently, dog mouths are full of bacteria. Even though people say dogs are cleaner than cats, that is not saying much. there is still enough in a single bite to cause serious infection. According to them, the drain usually gets pulled out a few days later once the infection risk drops. And based on the size of the cut, their guess? Another dog attacked mine. Maybe it jumped over the fence? Maybe my dog somehow escaped and got into trouble? But whatever happened, someone treated him and brought him back. Quietly. That part stuck with me. Whoever did this knew where we lived. That meant my dog either got attacked in my yard or was brought back after getting injured somewhere else. Banana Phone figured maybe the other dog's owner was afraid to get sued. Maybe their dog had a violent past, and they just could not risk anyone finding out. So they paid for the surgery in secret, then returned my dog without a word. Another user, decent writer, backed this theory up with a personal story. I have a dog with a bite record. If he hurts another animal again, it is over for us. We already paid a fortune for one incident, and we are still dealing with the lawsuit years later. Trust me, the fear of going through that again is enough to make someone hide the truth. They added that if the person who brought my dog back ever did confess, I would still have 2 years to file a civil lawsuit. But then, things got weird again. Because after more people started asking questions, I gave them more info, and it sort of disproved all of those theories. I told them, I am 5'8", and the main fence in my yard is taller than me. The side fence is lower, maybe waist height, but even then it is surrounded by other properties. If another dog got through, someone would have noticed. I also made it clear my dog is not a jumper. He is a lazy lab. Never even tried to scale the fence. And there is this little poodle next door, but I have never seen them fight or even bark at each other. They do not care about each other at all. The vet confirmed it was not a car accident. No broken bones, no bruises, no missing organs, just some fat cut out in stitches. There was blood, sure, but not a lot. Just enough to make it clear something happened, but not enough for a full-blown emergency. So I told Reddit I had already checked the security footage. At least one of the neighboring houses has cameras. Police reviewed it. I looked through it too. Nothing strange. No dogs, no people, no cars, no screams, no barking. Just a quiet street, an ordinary day. But then I made a mistake. I said something that got people questioning the whole story. People kept asking how long I had been gone when it happened. I told them I left for work at 10 in the morning and came back around 3 p.m. 5 hours total. But that raised more questions. One user, a vet tech or something, left a long, detailed comment. They said, that timeline does not make sense. I've worked in both private practices and emergency rooms. 5 hours is tight, really tight for surgery that complex. They explained how long it actually takes: sedation, clipping the fur, disinfecting the wound, flushing it, cutting out tissue, placing drains, suturing, washing the dog afterward to clean off the blood, and then the paperwork, discharge instructions, payments, meds, not to mention the time it takes to even get the dog to the vet, check in, and drive him back to my yard after. So either this was done super fast, or it was not done at a real clinic. Someone in the comments wondered, what if the person who did this had surgical experience? Maybe they were not a vet, but knew enough to stitch the wound and use a drain? Maybe they did it off the books, in a garage, or a basement. Something quick and quiet, no questions, no records, no reports. That idea made my stomach turn. And then, right when things were really starting to spiral, I gave one final update. The police told me they're now investigating this as a criminal case. I thought people would be relieved. Instead, it only raised more doubts. Not long after I said that, I deleted my account. No more replies. No more updates. Nothing. And now, just like Bangarang, I disappeared. Now, if you thought that story was unsettling, wait until you hear this one. It happened in 1996. Or maybe 1997. Either way, it took place in Indiana, United States. A Reddit user named Pagan Princess 22 shared her memory, something that stuck with her since childhood. And when you hear it, you'll understand why. A fake nurse took my blood. Cold case intro. Hey everyone, not sure if this is the right subreddit. I tagged it as a cold case because it happened over 20 years ago. No charges were filed. I doubt the police could do anything now. But I just want to know what really happened. The story starts when she was just a little girl, 5 or 6 years old. She had a bad nosebleed that would not stop. And after throwing up clots of blood, her mom rushed her to the emergency room in the Sunman or Indianapolis area. She cannot remember the name of the hospital, only that the ER rooms were divided by curtains, not walls. At one point, her mom stepped away to talk to a doctor. And that is when a strange woman entered the room. Truth is, I still do not know what happened that day. If there is anything else I could tell you to help figure it out, I would, but I was a little kid. 5, maybe 6. And my memory, as clear as it feels, might be wrong in some places. I even tried talking to my mom about it a few years ago when I was a teenager. She confirmed some of the details I remembered, but then she just shut down, told me to stop asking, said she could not remember the hospital or the name of the doctor or anything useful. She has had her own issues over the years, so she is not exactly a reliable historian. She gets foggy about the past, hers and mine. But what makes this story so scary is how real it felt, and still feels. A strange woman walked in, dressed like a nurse, took my blood, left me bleeding, and vanished. That is terrifying, especially for a kid who already hated hospitals. One Reddit user had a wild theory. They asked, "Is there any chance you are adopted? Maybe that strange woman was my biological mother trying to run a DNA test, and maybe that is why my mom never wanted to talk about it." But I replied pretty quickly, "I do not think so. I have seen my birth certificate. It lists my parents as my biological parents, and I look just like my mom and sister. So, that theory? I doubt it." A more grounded explanation came from someone named Snapdragon22. They pointed out something important. You were a kid. Memory is not perfect at that age, especially when it comes to traumatic stuff. It might not have been a fake nurse. It might just have been a weird-looking real one. They explained how some nurses wear mismatched scrubs, that it is not uncommon for medical staff to carry blood draw supplies in their pockets. Not all of them use carts. And sometimes blood tubes are kept loose, even though they are meant to be secure. Snapdragon even said that blood draw carts can be an infection risk, so in some hospitals, they are not allowed in certain areas. They also doubted that someone could just sneak into a hospital, undetected, and draw blood like that. Hospitals are not friendly to strangers. Everyone knows who is supposed to be on the floor. Even when a nurse floats in from another wing, people still ask questions. It is hard to go unnoticed. They also added that doctors usually do not know all the nurses on staff. So the doctor saying she doesn't work here might not mean much, especially if it was a temp worker or someone new. That made me stop and think. Maybe I just filled in the blanks with my own fear. Maybe it was a real nurse, just acting weird. Maybe there was a miscommunication, and my mom panicked. Or maybe something did happen. I do not know. And unless my mom decides to come clean one day, I probably never will. But Reddit is full of stories like mine. Ones with no clear ending, only questions. Let me tell you about another one. It is about a man who believes his own mother has been slowly poisoning him. After I moved back in with my family, things got tense again fast. It started with little arguments, accusations. They said I had grown cold, that I did not care about them. But the truth was, they could not stand the fact that I wanted to leave, that I was trying to build something for myself. Then, last month, I finally landed another job. This time, as a computer programmer. It was out of town, but it paid well, and I had just enough saved up to make the move. That is when everything went downhill. A few days before I was scheduled to leave, my mother's attitude changed. She was angry, accusing me of abandoning the family. She even said I must hate them. The night before I left, she handed me 2 styrofoam cups of ramen noodles. They were the kind that come with that little cardboard wrap. She tossed the wrapping away, which felt strange. She gave me a few other food items too, said it was for the trip. But I did not eat them. I was already suspicious, so I packed the food, acted normal, and headed off to my new city. When I arrived, I checked into a hotel, tried to relax. The next day was my first day at the new job. Things went well. I came back, tired but happy. That night, I was hungry and low on cash. So I opened one of the noodle cups my mother had given me and ate it. Within an hour, I started to feel it. That same feeling I had years ago. Weak, dizzy, lightheaded. My chest felt tight. I could not catch my breath. The last time this happened was in 2011. Back then, I had chalked it up to stress or illness, but now it felt exactly the same. And I remembered that time my sister had given me food too. I drank a lot of water. It helped, barely. A few days passed. My mom kept calling me, but the only thing she seemed to care about was whether I had eaten the rest of the noodles. She kept reminding me over and over. That was when I started to realize what was happening. I went online and started reading. I searched for symptoms, stories, poisoning methods, cyanide. That was my gut feeling. It sounded insane, but everything lined up, and that scared me even more. I did not want to believe it. You are not supposed to think your own mother is capable of trying to poison you. But I had to know, so I went to a site that sells home testing kits. I ordered one, and I used it, and then I stared at the results. That was the moment I knew. I had to call the cops. I made a promise to myself right then and there I would never speak to my family again. I took the test results to the Capitol Police Station here in Topeka, Kansas, showed them everything. but the officer told me they could not help. Because the package had already been opened, they said the evidence might be contaminated. Nothing they could do. I felt sick, not from poison this time, but from helplessness. Still, I filed a police report. It was all I could do. I cut off all contact, stopped answering calls, blocked numbers. I stayed in a cheap motel while I saved up money, worked full-time as a software developer for the state. Then, one day, the front desk clerk at the motel pulled me aside. "Your mother just called here. She asked if you were staying with us." The thing is, she did not know my room number. She never tried my cell. She just wanted to know where I was. That shook me more than anything. A few months later, I left town. I moved out of state, started over, got a better job, got healthier. I still think about what happened, but I try not to dwell on it. Because honestly, if I had eaten that second cup of noodles, I might not be here to tell you this. Back in July of 2020, I was working at a lab in Northern Ohio. We made prescription eyeglasses long shifts, 10 hours a day. Nothing fancy, just quiet, routine work. But what happened that summer still haunts me to this day. It was Wednesday, the 22nd of July. About 6 hours into our shift, maybe around 7:10 p.m., one of my coworkers, a guy I had worked with for 2 years, suddenly got up and walked out. No goodbye. No, see you tomorrow. He just left. What made it even weirder was what he left behind. His backpack was still at his workstation. Inside were his iPad, Bluetooth headphones, his prescription, a phone charger, a book, and a few personal items. Nobody walks out of a job like that, not unless they plan to come back. At first, some of the others figured he had just had enough long hours, constant pressure, maybe he snapped and quit. But something about it felt off. We tried calling him that night. His phone rang a few times, then straight to voicemail. By the next morning, it was turned off completely. My boss managed to reach his mother, but she wasn't very helpful. Said she hadn't heard from him either, but she wasn't too worried. Apparently, he had a history of living off the grid, disappearing for weeks, sometimes months. She thought maybe he relapsed or ran off with some girl. Said they weren't that close anyway. I knew about his past. He had some trouble with drugs years back, arrested around 2014 or 2015. But from what I had seen, he had cleaned up, showed up on time, got the job done, always seemed stable. Then, a week after he disappeared, things got even stranger. One evening, after work, I got a group text. It was sent to me, 2 other coworkers, and 6 numbers I didn't recognize. The sender? Him. But the message had no text, just 3 pictures. That was it. I opened them one by one, and what I saw made my stomach drop. All 3 photos looked like they had been taken in a rush, blurry, tilted, low light, like someone was snapping pictures while running or hiding from something. I tried calling him back right away. Phone rang once, then straight to voicemail. Tried again. Nothing. The pictures, they felt like a cry for help. So I did what anyone would do. I posted the story on Reddit, hoping someone might recognize the locations in those photos. A few people tried to help. Some even analyzed the images, trying to extract data from the files. One guy checked the EXIF metadata on the first image, said it was taken with an iPhone, dated the 7th of July, 2017, at exactly 13:22. But the weird part, the lighting in the picture looked like it was taken early in the morning or late at night, which didn't match the timestamp. Others pointed out that the location was way too vague. Northern Ohio? That could mean anything. Nobody here says that it's either Northwest Ohio or Northeast Ohio. Are you talking about Cleveland, Toledo, Akron, Sandusky? It was like the post was either intentionally vague or made by someone who wasn't actually from here. Some even thought it might be an ARG, an alternate reality game. $5 says this is a promo stunt, one person wrote. And honestly, I could not blame them for being skeptical. Months passed, and in November, I posted an update. I wish I could say we found him, or got answers, but I cannot. Right after I shared the original story, the Reddit thread got locked by moderators. A police report was filed, that much I know. But then, in mid-September, I got laid off. Our lab downsized, and I was one of the first to go. And since then, nothing. I searched his name online, checked news sites, even went through local missing person databases, but I never found anything. No updates, no sightings, no follow-up stories, just silence. I wish I could tell you there was a breakthrough, that we figured out what happened to him. But the truth is, I have not found anything. Nothing in the news, nothing in public records, nothing at all. And yeah, I get it. Plenty of people on Reddit said the whole thing felt off, that maybe I made it all up, that this was just some weird viral stunt or an ARG, an alternate reality game. And honestly, I cannot blame them for being skeptical. But let me say this one last time. I did not make any of it up. I did not fake the photos. I did not exaggerate anything, and I definitely was not trying to trick anyone. I got a lot of flack in that first post for not filing a police report. And at the time, I thought, you know what? I was not that close to the guy. We were coworkers. We talked. We joked around. But we never hung out outside of work. So I figured someone closer to him should be the one to make that report. Looking back, I know now I should have done it anyway. But a report was eventually filed. That much I can confirm. Some people in the thread tried to take things seriously. They started pointing out things I had not even noticed. One person said, I know it sounds far-fetched, but your company, your boss, could they be involved? Think about it. The guy disappears during work, leaves behind all his stuff. The boss shrugs it off, says, don't worry about it. Does not help access the guy's personal items. Says he'll file a report, but never does. And then I get laid off right after I start asking questions, right after I go public with the story. No follow-up, no contact from my manager, nothing. It was like they wanted to distance themselves from the entire thing. And yeah, maybe that is all a coincidence, but maybe not. Still, because of all the weirdness and all the gaps in the story, most people online just came to the same conclusion: this has to be fake. It's probably just an ARG, a viral hoax. One user wrote, I hope it's an ARG, because if it's not, it's terrifying. And then, just like that, I deleted my account. I had said everything I needed to say. There was nothing else to add. And if I am being honest, it all just got too heavy. So now, we are left with nothing but speculation. No answers, no conclusions. Just 3 blurry photos, a vanished man, and a story that may never be finished. And maybe that is the scariest part of all.